I had two dogs, Testigo and Stella. Testigo was, if you'll pardon the expression, a very good boy. He had a number of interesting qualities. When I was sitting at my computer, he liked to jump up behind me on my office chair, rest his chin on my shoulder, and look at the screen with me. He seemed to be very curious about whatever it was that was holding my interest for such a long time, or maybe he just wanted to be close to me and lend his moral support. He was also a very talented guard dog. He might not have been the toughest dog on the block. He actually wasn't the toughest dog in the house, but he was always on the alert for threats that might present themselves, and he was good. Many times he woke me up at 4 a.m. to let me know about a potential home invader that was completely silent and invisible, and he was fast. He was the fastest dog I ever met. If he got past me out the door, he was out of sight in like 3 seconds. I used to go running with him and Stella, one leash in each hand. And I think Stella basically looked like the canine equivalent of me. She lumbered awkwardly forward. It looked like her various body parts were not in agreement about how to get the job done, but she was going to get there eventually. But Testigo, he was so fast compared to my top speed, I swear, that when he was being held back by my hand and the leash and his collar, it looked like he was walking, and someone had hit the fast forward button. But there are things none of us are fast enough to outrun. And over time, Testigo got older, and then he got sick, and then he passed away. This was very hard for me, and it was very hard for Stella. Eventually, I decided it was time to get another dog. Stella seemed to disagree strongly. I don't think it's actually that she didn't want another dog in the house, but you see, Stella is all about boundaries, and if you cross her boundaries without her permission, she's going to send you back the way you came. I took her to the shelter over and over again, and over again she rejected the dog I introduced her to. She might growl at them, she might snap at them, she might cling tightly to my pant leg the whole time she was forced to be in their presence, but whatever specific form it took, her response to the other dog's overtures of friendship might as well have been in English. I don't know you. This went on for months. It got to the point where I thought maybe I simply wasn't meant to have another dog right now. So I took Stella to the shelter one more time. We met one more dog, and it was one more disaster. I asked the lady at the shelter if there was maybe a dog they had in the back that I hadn't met yet, one that might somehow meet with Stella's approval. She consulted her notes, and she came out with Isabel. Isabel, seemingly unaware that the space surrounding Stella was a minefield, calmly walked up to her and sniffed her butt. Stella looked at her over her shoulder with an expression that seemed to say, yeah, I guess that's okay, especially now that you've already done it. And then we went for a walk. I had Stella's leash, and the lady from the shelter had Isabel's. They didn't really interact, but they coexisted, which to me was a huge step forward. And then, after maybe 10 minutes, Stella walked over to Isabel and sniffed her butt. And then the lady asked me if I wanted to take Isabel home for a sleepover to see if they were truly compatible. And I'm like, you don't understand. We just witnessed a miracle. Stella sniffed that other dog's butt. So long story short, Isabel joined our little home, and Stella adores her. It's amazing to see. Sometimes I will be playing with Stella, and Isabel will come over and push her out of the way so that she can be the one receiving the attention. And Stella, who, like I said, is all about boundaries, will respond by kissing her. I know it seems like this should be the end of the story, but if you'll indulge me. Not long after I brought Isabel home, she happened to have her mouth open, and I noticed that she was missing a tooth on the bottom. In between her big canines on the sides, it was tooth, 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 space, tooth, tooth. Obviously, I did what anybody would have done in this situation. I took her back to the shelter and demanded a refund. No, I didn't. I didn't do that. I just filed it away as an interesting detail about our new family member. But sometime after that, Isabel had her mouth open again, and I saw that actually she had an even number of teeth on the bottom, but there was just a gap in the middle. This was really unnerving. I don't like to brag, but normally I am really good at counting dog teeth. But what can I say? I guess somehow I made a mistake. But sometime after that, Isabel had her mouth open one more time, and sure enough, tooth, 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 space, tooth, tooth. And now I'm wondering if I'm losing my mind or something. What's going on? And then it hits me. The time in between. When I saw an even number of teeth with a gap, I must have been dreaming. And now I'm really freaking out because you shouldn't be dreaming about your dog's teeth. That's abnormal. Counting them is fine, but you should not be dreaming about them. And then I remembered that Tashtigo had an even number of teeth on the bottom with a gap in the middle. And this made me think that Tashtigo was visiting me in my dream, which was a comforting thought. But why would Tashtigo come to me in the form of Isabel and not as himself? Maybe he was trying to say, I'm still here. I'm still here, but now I'm invisible. Invisible, like you thought all those intruders I warned you about at 4 in the morning were, and you never even thanked me. I'm still here, but now I'm invisible. So you won't see me as myself. You'll see me in Isabel and Stella, and maybe you'll feel my presence when you're working at your computer and your mood suddenly changes for the better, my chin resting on your shoulder for moral support. This was a very comforting thought. So now when Isabel or Stella does something which reminds me of Tashtigo, it seems to me like something more than a reminder. But I really wish he was still visible to me as himself, because now that he's no longer being held back by my hand and the leash and his collar and his body, I would love to see how fast he can run. Thank you.